Hey, everybody.
Hello,
It's the Pastords.
we're back.
We're back.
We're happy to see you.
I know you thought that we would. We're going to talk in a lower voice today because it's
Why? Why actually are we going to talk in a lower voice?
December 1st, Roger. This is
It is December 1st.
It's the month of silence. Silent night.
Oh, we're going to try the cone
all
of
of that.
silence?
We're not going to try that, but we are going to. That's a lie. We're going to talk normal. We just start. We thought we would come in
Right.
like that. Ugh.
Inglorious Pastords. Back to normal volume.
Well, and Roger's got a new computer, so we're very excited to see how that. It seems to be working right now. It hasn't cut
Right.
off yet. That's good. Roger
Yes.
has upgraded to a computer that has 8 megs of RAM now. That's huge. I think his previous one had 1.25 megs of RAM. And so if you did anything more than,
It actually was more than that.
Was it?
was, but
it's probably 4.
that's not the point. It was.
The point is,
It had problems.
Roger has moved forward in the technological world.
I have.
And I, for one, am proud.
And yes, I got a new phone as well. My phone was starting to die. I did
You
get
get
a
the
new
Galaxy?
phone. It is a Galaxy something.
Oh, those are dandies.
Did you just say dandy?
Those are dandies.
I apologize to our listeners.
Very
for
highly
that.
rated. So I just bought Marlena.
She's a dandy.
I brought Marlena a new computer, which is the Samsung Galaxy Book Pro.
Wow, that's a dandy.
It's a dandy. It's a screamer. It's got like 16 megs of RAM and a 1 terabyte like SSD drive, which
What?
is ridiculous.
Do you really? Right? Isn't that like? I mean, when is she going to use a terabyte? I mean, is that really
This is called overkill. If you look up overkill, you'll just see terabyte.
1 terabyte?
No one needs that much.
1 plus terabytes.
How about you don't? But you don't realize how many pictures Marlena saves. She's a big picture saver.
If we looked up how many pictures, how much space they take, how many pictures would fit in a terabyte, I don't think she's going to be anywhere close to that. And she doesn't take as many pictures as my wife.
That's true. I'm going to give her a lifetime supply there, just in case. So she'll never run out ever. That's the goal.
Speaking of overkill,
I'm using the 1 terabyte available on Google, so it's in the cloud all the time. That way, when you change computers, you don't have to worry about, moving photos over and whatnot.
yes. No, I'm starting that cloud thing. We actually, when I got this computer, it's.
You
remember
cloud it up?
Well, you remember how challenging it used to be? You got a new computer.
Yeah.
And switching all the data. It was a night.
Remember, you had hooked these cable connections.
Right. That you'd buy these special
and you'd have
connections.
to do it at exactly the right time. All right. Okay, turn this one on. Not that one first. This one. Turn this one on.
Slow and
hours.
And some stuff would not transfer invariably.
Yeah.
It was at some point some stuff was
2-minute
irretrievably
process
lost on your last computer.
Yeah.
So it just think about how many things are easier, and that's one of them.
That's one of them. So big week. The Broncos won. That was huge.
You saw that we won.
You guys are on a 6-game winning streak with the Patricks. The New England Patricks.
Let me hold. I know you've got something fun to say,
Okay.
but you just said something that's very important. I have a trivia question for you.
Okay.
Because this one's fun. Okay, the Patriots are on Patricks, whatever you want to call them. The Patriots are on a 6-game winning streak. In the last 20 years, since Belichick's been a coach, how many of those years have they had a winning streak of 6 games or more?
1. That was the year that they went almost 20-0.
Well, I just said they're on a 6-game winning streak right now. How many other seasons have they had at least a 6-game winning streak?
I said 1.
This year?
No, you said other than this year.
No.
How many others? Roger doesn't even know the question.
14.
Really? They're a streaky bunch.
14. Talking about consistent. They've had 14 different years since 2001 where they've had 6 or more consecutive wins. That's insane.
That's insane. What do you know? In the last 6 years, how many times the Broncos have had 1 loss winning streak? No, 1 win.
Isn't every loss a 1? Well, how can a loss be a winning streak?
I'm gonna need some more coffee.
Help me out.
I'm using the coffee cup that matches my shirt today.
Yes, That is a kind of a shiny,
Very
sheeny
thematic.
kind of shirt there.
Yeah, it's
I
a.
like it.
Do you
That's
like
beautiful.
that? It's very nice. Well, it's
Yes.
polyester, but it feels like cotton,
Ooh,
which is yummy.
very comfortable.
No, I was just going to say they're pretty much win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win one. That's why they're 6-5. So if they stay on that track next week, they play Kansas City, the Chiefs.
That could be a loss.
That could be a loss. We could go 6-6 and hurry, but I think they get them at home.
Oh, good.
Which is helpful. And for those of you that don't know, the top 3 teams in the AFC in terms of defense are, in this order, the Bills, Patriots, which play on Monday night, and then the Broncos.
Yep.
So all of them, I think, have 196 or have given up 196 or less points throughout the entire season, that's huge. That's very small numbers. So that's good defense.
Well, it's fun too. People are saying, I mean, this year, in all of the NFL, there's just no Goliath. There's no just team. Everyone, oh gosh, they're for sure in. It's like every time you get that place, you say, oh, those people are for sure. Then they lose to Jacksonville, or they tie with Detroit, or they lose
Green
to the
Bay
Jets.
Looks awfully good, and they're saying if everyone gets healthy and stays healthy, they could be the juggernaut team.
Sure, but they have 3 losses,
right?
And and it's always the funny thing with when you're winning really convincingly with key people out. There's always that we kind of have the assumption you get those key people in. Oh, now they're going to just be destroying people. Well, if you're already playing really good quality ball without those people, it's not necessarily. It doesn't just follow. Right. Oh, you add those people,
it's going to be better.
In other words, like the Rams, which had a pretty decent defense, they bring on Von Miller and then lose 3 straight games. It's just funny. Adding some player doesn't. Some great player that's been out doesn't necessarily mean anyway. But yes, the Green Bay looks very good.
Patriots look very good. It could be a Green Bay Patriots thing.
Yeah, the Patriots are the hottest team right now. The hottest team.
The NFC is harder for me to see in terms of you have Arizona, you've got Green Bay, and you've got Tampa Bay.
Right.
So those 3, I think all with 2 or 3 losses, something like that. Maybe 3 losses.
Right. Each. 2 to 3.
Yeah.
Buccaneers 3.
It'll be fun to watch.
Right.
I love it when the seasons are close and it's, the Broncos are at least in the, running.
And listen, someone said the other day too, that this college football season might be the best in 20 years for the same kind of way, other than Georgia, which does look like the Goliath.
They look like the juggernaut.
But everybody else.
But Georgia will play Alabama. And Alabama has a way of beating Georgia. It's a little bit like Auburn has a way of beating Alabama. By the way, I just need to say to all my Auburn fan friends.
Oh, my God.
I would rather be a Tennessee fan because at least we know we're going to lose. I'm watching your games and I know you're going to win. I just know it. There's no way for you not to win.
Everybody knew you were going to win.
With 2 minutes, they go 4th and 1. You stop Alabama, you're going to win. I'm like, that's it. I'm turning it off. Wrong. Bad idea, Bruce.
So sorry.
No, it's
we just lost all our Auburn listeners.
Yeah, well, it's not really just that Auburn's a roller coaster because that's what they say. It's like being an Auburn fan is like a roller coaster. No, it's more like being a crash dummy.
Oh gosh.
Where you're just speeding along, everything's great, then you hit the wall. Airbags going off everywhere.
That's your image for Auburn.
So, what are you reflecting on this morning? I was thinking about all sorts of things today, beyond football. I talk football because you like football.
Yeah, well, that's very nice of you to cater to me. And so let's talk about something more serious and important because, the other reason why we've talked about football, the Inglorious Pastords is conversations with Raj and Bruce. And you know what? When we have conversations,
we talk about football.
We talk about football. So that means you guys... But it's not all we talk about.
No.
And sometimes we talk about things that are really, really important.
So this morning I was thinking about the words of Jesus because now I'm in the late portions of Matthew. So we're in Matthew 26. Now he's being handed over to the religious leaders and going to go before Pilate and all that. And I was just thinking this morning of just that statement he made at one point. My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my disciples would fight to prevent my capture or release. And I realized couple things there. Number one, Peter was really just, he was just doing what you normally do when you're trying to protect a kingdom of this world. You know, it's person with the biggest stick wins. So yeah, you bear the sword.
Mm-hmm.
He's swinging the sword, and he was willing in that moment, you know, to die for Jesus, because 1 Peter against the entire temple guard, that's not going to go well. But he's willing to die, you know, fighting for Jesus. But I realized,
well, yeah,
well, go ahead.
Well, but there, he's still, this is the fundamental thing. He still doesn't understand what the kingdom is.
Exactly. It's not of this world.
Right.
And so as I was reflecting on this morning, I was thinking Jesus was a perceived threat to Rome, a perceived threat to the nation of Israel, a perceived threat to the religious institutions of the time. And then I had to rephrase it in my mind. He was a threat to all of this. He was.
Right.
Here's the thing. The way of Christ, as it was said in Daniel chapter 3, the kingdom that God will set up at that time will overthrow all of those kingdoms, and they'll be like dust, but it itself will remain forever. It's the rock that crushed the statue that became a mountain that filled the whole earth. I'm like, it wasn't that he was just a perceived threat. He was a threat. In other words, Jesus was really saying, because Peter was just, I think, following the way of the world, which is you address violence with violence. If someone's going to violently take Jesus, well, we're going to violently make sure that they don't. Of course, Jesus is like, guys, my kingdom's out of this world. I've got 10,000 angels in my life that I could command at any moment to shut this thing down. And I even thought about, you know, personal protection in America and guns. And we've talked about how many guns we have in America. Yemen is the second closest country, and it's not even close, 1.3 to 2.4
per capita or whatever,
per individual in the country.
Right.
Okay, and that's only going up.
Right.
In America.
Oh no, talking to a friend who sells in the gun market, he said it's still just off the charts. The buying of
And there's one thing about guns for using them for, I don't know, hunting and whatnot. But a lot of people, they'll tell you it's personal protection.
Mm-hmm.
It's personal protection.
Yep.
And I just live in a different world. I'm like, you know, it's not that I realize that bad people aren't out there and that they might try to do bad, but I'm like, you know, Jesus didn't carry a sword. Jesus was under constant threat. Jesus was under contract several times during that 3 years.
Right.
I mean, where
a bounty was put at right,
where they're saying we want to take him out.
Yeah.
We got to find the right time. We need to do it away from people and all that. But it wasn't just in that last week, because as you know, you read through the Gospels, it was multiple times he would heal the man with a palsied hand, and their first thought was, we got to figure out how to kill him.
Well, first thing, yeah.
So over and over again, he was under threat of death.
Well, and so this even comes back to what you were saying. He threatened everyone and everything. He threatened actually every system of control, every power. So
every power, yes.
Even when he's in his own hometown,
right?
They take him to the brink of a drop off, a cliff. People from his own hometown, right? I'm not making that up.
No, that's right.
So I'm thinking
he did his first message there. Didn't go well.
Right. So his hometown people, you can look at, the Jewish leadership structure. You can look at Rome, where he was a threat. And it just comes back to your point. He was a threat to everyone. It reminds me of, I think Anthony Evans might have said this. Jesus didn't come to take sides. He came to take over.
Yeah. And Andy Stanley also said that.
Yes.
It's interesting.
Andy
he was quoting.
Yes,
he was quoting. That's so good to know, because he didn't come to choose sides.
It's the thing, right? It's why he's a threat to the Democrats. He's a threat to the Republicans.
Which is why you can't attach God to a particular political party.
Right. His
kingdom is, so if it's not of this world, I'm going to use the word that comes to mind. It's beyond this world. It's beyond all of this. It transcends all of this. And it can change everything. In other words, like even when I pulled in this morning, I see a car with a bumper sticker, America First. And I just it was interesting. I immediately thought, I'm just not that. I'm kingdom first. Right. This was what Jesus came to bring. Jesus said, this gospel of the kingdom will be preached to all nations before the end comes.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm just a kingdom first. I want to get a little sticker that just says kingdom first. and then, of course, then it's like we have people that confuse what I call kingdom with empire.
Right.
Empire being a human institution, I'm going to build this thing. And you realize local churches can become empires. We're going to create these empires,
Sure.
multi-site, multi-venue empires that are now in all of these cities and it can become an empire. I'm not saying that all of those are. I'm just saying it can become that. And all of a sudden, you have to ask an important question. Am I building the kingdom or an empire?
What's funny, when I was creating the list, Jesus is a threat to Republicans. He's
okay,
a
sorry, I
threat.
didn't let you finish
No,
that
no,
thought.
no. It wasn't not finishing it. I will add more. He's a threat to Christians. He's a threat to churches.
Yep.
Here's the thing. The way of Jesus at points.
You heard it here first. Roger said Jesus is a threat to Christians and churches. I'm going to let him unpack that. Let's give him, I don't know, 20 minutes.
Well, this is what we assume. God is for us and our way and all the things that we believe and our group and he's
in our little echo
right.
chamber.
We've got Jesus in our back pocket. And nobody does. Because he came to take over. He didn't come to be a side. He didn't come to be used.
Yeah, and it's like I tell people all the time, God isn't interested in being a part of your life.
No,
he's really not.
You're gonna love this.
He really wants to be your life.
I'm so glad because this is where I've been tracking.
Okay.
I was listening yesterday to Dr. Crawford Loritz, and he used
Brian's dad.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Very interesting.
I've never listened to him.
Actually, Andy Stanley interviewed him.
Okay.
You should go listen to the interview.
Okay, I'll listen to
Absolutely fascinating. And he has multiple things in there. But one of the things he talks about is a la carte Jesus. And it's the very thing that you're talking about.
You did a Facebook Live on this.
Yes. Jesus as a side.
Yes.
And it's how easy it is. Everybody wants a piece of Jesus on their team where he can benefit them.
Yeah.
But I started thinking, and you could help me with this.
You can help me, Dr. Marvin.
That's good. No, I started thinking of all the things Jesus said that blow up a la carte Jesus. Jesus had no intention of being a side dish.
Unless you give up everything, you cannot be my disciple.
Okay. There's a classic one.
Yep. There's no a la carte there.
No.
It's a only cart. It's all cart.
Unless you hate your father and mother, you cannot be my disciple.
Let's not choose that side.
You can't serve God and money.
Also, that's not the side I'm looking for.
But that's right, exactly. Right. But so it's pulling him
side
in.
Dish Jesus.
Side dish Jesus a la carte. It reminds me of that. We've probably talked, but that great bumper sticker. I'm not a big bumper sticker person, but we're talking about him today.
The bumper sticker
that
edition
said,
of the Pastords.
If God is your co-pilot, you're in the wrong seat.
Right.
But that's what we want. Realize I'm drawn to this time and time again. I like a la carte Jesus. I like him in the drive. I like him nearby when I get into a jam.
Roger, a lot of people just want him as the airbag.
Yes.
If I get into a big accident,
right,
I need the Jesus airbag. I need Jesus to get me out of this thing. And I'm talking about myself here. I can't tell me I've prayed that Jesus would get me out of a jam.
Right.
I'm like, this is bad. I have no control over this. It's like the accident's happening. My body's flying through. I need an airbag. Need it now.
Another image that came to my mind, it's comical, but it's what I call Jesus the consultant. I don't want him to be the CEO.
Or you don't want to be the commandant.
CEO or commandant versus consultant. Right. I realize, no.
When I work with a consultant, I can take it or leave it.
Right, that's the thing.
Hey, I appreciate that counsel.
You're coming along to assist me.
I'm not going to do any of that, but thank you.
But what was Jesus' repeated fundamental call? Follow me. Now, if you're following, who's
leading?
Who's leading? We've laughed about it before. I still, to this day, I hate following anybody in a vehicle. This happened a few weeks back. Oh, yeah. You can just follow me over.
Oh,
and it was
Roger. A chill just goes through me when someone says that.
No, and I knew.
I'm like, no. We have Google Maps. There's no one needs to follow anybody.
Here's the thing, because I had already got I know how to get there, and this person trying to help, and I knew what it was going to be. it was going to be a slow ride, and they could easily make this turn, and they didn't make the turn, and we got in the slowest lane, and we got all, and
Apparently, it's Judgment Wednesday.
it's a part of the gracious growth in my life that I even said yes to the person.
It is.
It was a discipline for me to say and not put the person on the spot. The person said, "Oh, just follow me over. You can just follow me over." Nothing in my fiber, in any fiber of my being, wanted to follow them over. I knew how to get there.
You know what's worse? You know what's worse? When someone says, "Hey, we'll follow you there," because this happened a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, "Don't, no, just put it into your GPS, okay? There's a thing on your phone called Maps." Because here's what I know: I'm gonna turn left across traffic. They're gonna be stuck at the light. It's gonna be red. Then I'm gonna have to pull over and wait on them, and then they're gonna come in. They're gonna flash their light. I mean, it's just gonna be. It's the slowest trip ever. And the other thing is, and this is just part of what my bad. I'll get to go on, and I'm just thinking about the destination. All of a sudden, I realize they're nowhere near me. I've completely lost them. I don't even know where they are.
Right.
This happened on my last Walls of Jericho trip. I didn't know who the lady was, but I'm flying along to get up to the wall, so I'm trying to get there a little early, and a car's in front of me, and I'm not tailing close. I'm like 5 car lengths
Right.
back. But she recognizes it's me. So she pulls over, and I'm like, well, that was courteous. Most people just don't do that anymore. And then I just took off. Well, her plan was, hey, that's Bruce. I'll just follow him there. Nope. Saw her for about 13 seconds.
After your turbo kicked in.
So I was like, okay. But Jesus says, follow me, which assumes that he's leading.
Yeah, all of his language.
And it doesn't mean I want to take a little side trail.
Right. No, all of it is language of Lord. Again, that's a word even today I'm not entirely comfortable with, but Lord simply is commandant, CEO,
master.
Make the call. I make the calls. I didn't come to give you advice.
No, Jesus says, why do you call me Lord, Lord, but don't do what I say?
Right.
I mean, now think about that. He was saying,
Right.
It's inconceivable.
Right.
You're using the wrong word. What you meant was consultant, not Lord, Lord. Because if we're not, and I was sharing this with a client yesterday, I said, this is what I believe about what it means to believe in Jesus. It's not just believing in historical Jesus.
Right.
It's not just believing in baby Jesus. It's not just believing in Jesus on the cross. It's actually trusting Jesus enough to actually do what he says.
Right.
Am I willing to believe in him, to trust him at the level that I'll actually do what he says, but I said, but once you do it, even though it sounds crazy, it's the most wonderful life.
Right. I wonder how many times we call in Fix-It Jesus. We want him to fix our life,
We've got
not
Fix-It
run it.
Jesus, airbag Jesus,
Right.
Consultant Jesus.
But
yeah,
we want him to fix things, but not run our life. But here's the comedy. If we were letting him run our life, we wouldn't need as much fixing.
Yeah.
In other words, the fixing is because how we've been screwing things up. It's I don't want him to tell me if he's a mechanic. I want to just call him in when I've blown the engine. I don't want him to tell him all the ways that actually I can keep from blowing the engine.
right.
Because I want to run the engine like I want to run the engine. It's just calling him in, like you said, when we get in trouble.
Yep.
Fix it. I want him to fix things. And we can have that a la carte Jesus when I just bring him in for fix-it jobs, but I don't bring him in to run my life. Just fix it when I screw it up.
And I did realize on Thanksgiving weekend, which was 2 weeks ago, as we're making this podcast, that even GPS isn't perfect. Roger, you're going to love this. So we're going to Mark and Winnie's house up in Wareh's Valley, just outside the Smokies. And we know from experience, on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, you don't even go through Chattanooga. You don't even try to go through Chattanooga. That's just going to be a disaster. Because the last time I went through Chattanooga, even early in the morning, GPS said it's good to go. It's blue all the way. And then literally as I passed the 4th Avenue exit, the last place to get off, an accident happened. Shut it down for 18 minutes. I'm like, I'm not going to Chattanooga. So we went around Chattanooga through, Dayton, Pikeville, that 127 thing, and then over on 11 and all of that. I was so proud of myself. And then we saw there was an accident in Knoxville, another 11-minute thing. So I just went straight across through Lenore City, Townsend. We're just killing it. One of the quickest trips ever. It's beautiful. It's much beautiful than just We get 2 minutes from their house, right before we get to Lion Springs Road. There's terrible wreck.
Okay.
Cars are backed up. So we're about 200 yards from that intersection. Now, that is literally 1 minute. We're 60 seconds from their house. I'm like,
You
Marlene,
could walk to their.
You could get out and walk if you wanted. She goes, no. So I'm like, okay. So I call Mark. He goes, hey, turn around. We'll take you in the back way. There's this thing. So, Mark's telling us what to do. Dorothy, my GPS, that's what I call my GPS. She's sending
Dorothy
us around. And we get turned around, and now we're going to empty onto Lion Springs Road, down from the wreck, but still short of Mark and Wendy's house. I'm like, this is perfect. I can see Lion Springs Road. I'm like, this is awesome. We turn the last corner, and there is a huge RV, 40-foot RV being pulled by a truck that has tried to go off Lion Springs Road because of the accident, and they were cutting a corner that's hard to make it a car. And that trailer is literally in the ditch. And the truck is a truck and trailer across the road. Roger, we can't go. We literally now
park the car and walk.
We're 30 seconds from their house. You can see the light shining up the street on Abbott Road. Still can't get there. So I'm looking at GPS and I figure there is one other way we can do it.
Oh gosh.
And Roger is just hilarious. This is the problem of following the wrong person. So everyone's trying to get around these two
Dorothy took
now.
you on this gravel road.
So we were on gravel roads. Sometimes we ended up on private drives, had to back all the way up. We're going over this huge mountain. And at one point I realized there's just cars going all over this mountain. No one knows where they're going. At one point I've got 3 people following me and I'm like, don't do it. I literally have no idea where I'm going. GPS would cut out.
That guy looks like he.
And I'm following the blue line. Right. I'm following the blue line. And then all of a sudden the screen goes black and my little arrow is like 50 yards off the blue line. I'm like, how did that?
You're actually on a military facility.
45 minutes and mountains of stress and the car overheating because we're going uphill and backing and uphill and backing and uphill and backing and going. And it was
in the Subaru. Okay.
It was just, we got to Mark and Wendy's and
you were worthless.
And I had PTSD for the next 2 days. All that to say, you need to be following the right guy. And Jesus is the right person to follow.
There's another a la carte Jesus. And this is sobering, but I realized.
Is this going to be convicting to me personally?
No, it'll be convicting to others. So it'll make you feel better.
All right, good.
Not that we haven't perhaps had our moments, but I realize another expression of a la carte Jesus is ticket to heaven Jesus. In other words, I'm just getting him, again, to make my life better. It's why I can never, we learned in the church we grew up, when you were to talk to people about giving their life to Jesus, well, a lot of times we were promoting ticket to heaven Jesus.
Right.
In other words, why I'm saying that, not even as a criticism, but we would literally say to people, if you died today, do you know for sure where you would go? So we're starting the very conversation. We're not talking about this life. We're not talking about Jesus for this life. We're talking about Jesus
in the afterlife.
For the afterlife. We're talking about, and so it's, well, if you don't know, well, isn't that traumatizing? Isn't that frightening? You don't know if you'll end up in heaven or not. I'm going to show you how Jesus can get you to heaven.
I've got a ticket.
That's not follow me, Jesus. That's not sell everything you have and give me your life. That's not anyone who does not give up all he has cannot be my disciple, Jesus. It's ticket to that. We're actually just sending the message. Jesus primarily came to fix things after you're dead.
Right. To ensure your afterlife.
Now, again, the church, the Christian, we've always gotten certain things screwed up. This is not, God's always been at work. That God worked even through that misemphasis.
Right.
But that's the serious thing. This is exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened when the rich young ruler comes to Jesus. He's looking for ticket to, and remember the conversation, even the one, why do you call me good? Which I think was really a consultant or Lord question.
Oh, yeah, because
right.
Jesus goes on to say, no one except God is good.
No one except God is good. So he's actually framing right now, are you coming to me as a consultant or God?
Or God.
You coming? And so he comes, he's actually coming, we learn, as consultant.
Yeah.
Consultant Jesus. So he says, how, but he's also looking for ticket to heaven, Jesus. How can I inherit eternal life?
And this is what's interesting. Jesus gives him a consultant sort of answer to begin with.
Jesus is so gracious.
Well,
he works with our,
the commands.
yeah,
But he seems to be referring to the 10 commandments because he gives a list of them. Not all 10.
right,
It's funny. I can't always remember all 10 of them.
right.
Maybe Jesus was just like, well, here's the basic ones. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And he's like, well, yeah, I've been keeping those since I was a kid. He goes, well, just continue on that path and you'll live.
Which was Jesus' version of, have you?
Really? So what about that don't covet thing? How are you doing on the covet thing right now?
Or how about that have no other gods before me thing?
That's even bigger.
Well, no, right.
No graven images.
Right. The trouble he's having is
Whether
with the
gold
first
or
four.
silver,
I mean,
right.
yeah, is so
Because the guy was keeping the Sabbath.
right.
Yeah.
So
Probably hadn't killed anyone.
then Jesus gives the non-a la carte answer. I just love this. This is not side dish Jesus.
There is one thing you lack.
Right. And then he says, no, here's this little thing you're missing.
The one thing is everything.
What the little thing is everything.
Right.
No, you're exactly right. So he says, oh yes, okay. You're coming to me as a consultant. You're coming to me, how you get to heaven, and he brings it to now. Doesn't sound something.
Oh, interesting. You're right.
No, he just comes back to I didn't. The afterlife. If you're following me today with everything, you'll make it to the afterlife. That's going to come, but you understand the whole point. So Jesus literally, he says, sell everything you have. This is not consultant language. This is commandant. Like this is CEO. This is God language. And he says, sell and follow me. I'm going to be in charge of your life. Money and all those kind of things here's this gracious thing. What Jesus says, he says, actually, what he's saying there is, I won't take the place of side dish Jesus. I can't be.
Right.
And you said it. I didn't come to help your life, improve your life. I came to be your life. And the Bible uses that language. Jesus, who is our life. I mean,
I came that they might have life and have it to the fullest.
He said, and I am that. Here's the thing.
I am that life.
If we're following him, we're in the life.
And was it Jesus that said, and this is what it means. This is what it means to have eternal life, to know the Father.
Right.
This is it's
John 17.
Okay,
yes.
It's
this is eternal life
This is eternal life.
Right.
It's knowing God, but it's knowing God as God, not consultant.
Right.
Not coach.
Yeah.
Jesus wasn't a life coach.
Yep.
In that sense.
It's the thing. In fact, what's actually sobering, any idea we're giving that God is coming to make your life, so much easier, so much better. Well, Jesus repeatedly, even with things like, take up your cross and follow me. This is not a comfort statement. This is not a sign that my life is just going to make everything go well. This is actually following me could cost you your life. And time again, following Jesus, we don't want following the shepherd. He takes us into the valley of the shadow of death. He takes us in the midst of our enemies. Follow him, trust him, let him be God.
And it's interesting because Jesus did reference following him does create a burden. I mean, a cross is a burden.
Yes.
But then he says, but my burden is light. And this is what I've come to understand, or I'm still coming to understand. Well, it's this thing of carrying a cross is heavy. It's burdensome. There are things that following Jesus, or things that Jesus will call you to do, that are uncomfortable, that are not in that sense fun. They may be very hard. Jesus promised persecution.
He did.
I mean,
right.
He promised trouble. He said, in this world, you're going to have trouble. You're going to have distress. Bad things are going to happen. But then almost with a twinkle of his eye, but don't worry about any of that.
Right.
And I'm just thinking when Jesus says it, I'm like, but those are all the things that we, that we worry about. Don't worry about that. Don't even worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to take care of itself. There's plenty of trouble each day. That I wanted to get back to the whole, but when Jesus says give up everything, there is this beautiful thing that he says later. And by the way, you gain everything in the process. Because Peter's like, well, in that context, Peter's like, well, Jesus, we've left everything to follow you. I mean, literally, they left their fishing business. They left. Think about that. It's one thing to leave your homeland. They left their homes, but he left his career. So we've left our place to live. We've left our ability to make money. So they're fully dependent on Jesus and the God that Jesus serves for their livelihood. And he asks an important question, and Jesus doesn't chide him for that question. He says, we've left everything for you, Jesus. What then will there be for us?
Right.
Jesus then does point him to the next realm.
Yes.
He said, well, I'll tell you what. At the end of this
no one who's given up father or mother or lands or houses or jobs.
You're going to sit on 12 thrones with me. You're going to be presiding.
Will not
over...
receive many times.
100 times.
Yes.
100 times as much. But I was talking about this other passage.
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because, homes, land, and,
gotcha.
and with it persecutions. But in this one, they were talking about you're going to sit on 12 thrones with me.
Okay.
And you're going to be ruling with me, whatever that looks like in the next realm. And it's this beautiful. We give up everything now, but we gain everything. And one of the things that I realize the older I get is we gain peace.
Yes.
As I follow Jesus, and I don't try to make sure that everyone gets theirs or everything's fair for me or that people can't take advantage of me or that if you try to take my life, I'm going to shoot you, all that. I have peace. I'm not worried about those. And one of the greatest things I gain is peace. But I realized this is the same moment because of the way the kingdoms of this world work. Right after that, when Jesus says, anyone that's left field will
left what?
Has left fields and family and all of that.
Okay.
You guys have left everything. You'll be on 12 thrones with me. Immediately, that's when James and John came to him with the, hey, speaking of thrones, if there's going to be 12 of them, I'm thinking 6 on either side. We want to be on the ones closest to you, right and left hand. It was just interesting. They were thinking again in human terms, human work, because Jesus was saying, would tell them over and over again, take the seat of less honor so that you might get called to a seat of greater honor. He said, because wouldn't it be embarrassing if you took that seat to the right of Jesus and the Father said, no, hey, Bruce, that's not for you.
Well, even there wasn't.
You got a seat 2,342 million seats down.
But they're coming back to gracious Jesus. Even there, when that happened. So you guys think you can handle that? You think, oh, yes, we can.
And by the way, I got a question for you. This is a Bible question. You're going to love this. So do you think it was a two-pronged approach where they sent mom first to soften him up and then they came? What do you think?
Well,
because there's the accounts to tell the story differently.
Right.
I'm just like, we're going to send mom in because we know that Jesus has a soft spot for moms.
For moms.
And then we're going to follow him like we didn't know. And I even wonder if that was a Jewish culture thing. Because I remember like Bathsheba went to the king to make sure that her son would be the one that fought, not all the other sons, but that her son, it's just a mother's heart for her sons and all that. Right. I was just curious.
No, it's, I do know if you had been a follower of Jesus, it's exactly what you would have.
You talking about me?
Yes.
I would send mom in?
No. No.
Hey, Joy. Roger and I've got an idea. The pastors, we're thinking right hand, left hand. I would
tell you this.
We want you to test the waters first.
You were not beyond using mom and dad at points to get what I'm saying is you were brilliant at points with coming up with a way.
I don't like anything you're saying
of getting what Bruce wants. What I'm saying is,
okay,
you would not have been beyond, nor would I.
I knew how to work the system. You and David didn't know how to work the system as well. But part of that was being the third son. I would watch you guys try to work within the system, and I'm like, that's just not working.
Part of it was
you got to get outside the system.
We had a little bit more ethical morality than you had.
Well, that's true.
I had that firstborn thing going on. So often with that firstborn, do it right. You know, that you're the one, you're the test case. The parents really come down hard on you first. And so you end up being that person. You're going to, not unlike the older brother in the parable, you're going to do it the right way. So there were certain things like we've laughed about it. I wasn't going to outright lie to mom and dad. You could do that.
Yeah, right. Roger's going to say,
I cannot tell a lie. I was making out with my girlfriend.
No, I would.
I'm going to come in and say,
we were having a Bible study over at the fellowship hall. It's great. A lot of prayer, lots of prayer.
David, our middle brother, is the one who would directly tell the truth. I would divert. I would deflect.
Really?
Oh, yes.
What does that look like?
No, it's like it's creatively changing the subject. If you're, I could say what I wasn't doing. You could just outright, if I was going to deceive mom and dad, it couldn't be
actually
point blank.
I would tell them pieces of things that were true.
Right.
Because we did go to the Bible study.
Well,
we were there for 30 seconds. Then we got in my car and left to do other things.
So you literally went to the study
just
to
so I
support
could
your
say,
story.
It's the
just
alibi.
To have your story.
Just so I could say we were at the Bible study.
We were both pretty conniving.
That's true. David was not.
No, he was more, honest and straightforward.
He's here with us right now.
And it got him in a lot of trouble.
I mean, the one that I remember the most about David was when he slammed his fist through the glass thing, the door in the garage,
at the breezeway, Stone Circle.
And he just went to mom and dad and said, "Hey, I smashed that window out.
Can you take me to ER?"
And I'm just like, that, and it worked.
Bruce was going to come up with a story. I don't know. I was carrying this 2x4 and bam, it hit the window.
No, it'd be more like I was doing something for them. I was taking the trash out and there was this long thing sticking out of it. And while I was serving you and doing my job, it hit the window.
Broke the window.
What are you going to do, right? That's why we have comprehensive insurance. Am I right, Dad? But no, he was just super. And Marlena's like that. She's told me she could never lie to her parents. Just never. She would try it. And then within 30 seconds, she would just collapse and go, no, that's not true.
I couldn't lie to them, but I could deceive them. In other words, I could give the impression. I got very, very good at creating the impression. Not entirely unlike Lincoln Riley this last week when he said at a point news conference, I am not going to be the next coach at LSU. Well,
USC was still in though.
Everybody else was reading, I'm not leaving Oklahoma. And he knew he was sending that message. I'm not. What he said was totally true, but it was misleading. That's classic Roger. That's what I would do. I was the one. I would give the message. I would say something that was true, but it was leading you to believe something that was not true. There was a couple of, I've thought of this before.
False impressions.
Yes. So I was.
This has actually become sort of a True Confessions episode of the Pastords.
Well.
So Roger, tell us the worst thing you've ever done.
We're really talking about the places where I haven't made Jesus Lord.
Right.
Because even in that moment, we're talking about what I'm doing there.
Right.
Is I'm playing around with following Jesus. I'm even pretending like I'm following his way. The way of truth, the way of righteousness, but I'm not. And what's that about? It's all of that was still about my control. Never was deceiving mom and dad.
Yeah.
However, indirectly, I was stepping in the path of control. What I have to keep asking, I guess that's for me the finish. When I heard Dr. Lawrence talk about a la carte Jesus, I had to ask, because it's so easy for me to immediately, I could think, oh, that person. I can think of a person who a la cartes Jesus. Oh, you know what? Those people that have just lined totally up behind a political party, they've a la carted Jesus. And I think God in my spirit did this sort of, Raj, you're missing the point here.
Where are you a la carting Jesus?
Where are you, Roger, a la carting Jesus? And maybe that's the question to leave is, Jesus didn't come to be a consultant. He didn't come to be a fix-it person.
Didn't come to be an airbag.
He didn't come to be an airbag. He didn't come to be a ticket to heaven. as weird as that sounds, he did
Yep.
not come. He came to be your life.
He
He came
to take over.
to take over. And are we going to let him just today?
Yeah.
It's beyond this idea. Okay. Oh, I let him take. Years ago, I can tell you when I let him take over. No, I can. Years ago, I can talk about the point when I first made a step. But every day, I have to let him take over.
Yeah.
Every day.
And I'm back to, I realize I'm most tempted to embrace a la carte Jesus when I'm driving. I can drive just fine. I got it, Jesus. No. I realize I need Jesus more in my driving than ever before.
I used to think it was, I would say that's a big place, but I'm learning just a lot of other places.
Oh, I know. Marriage, parenting, everything. So let's finish with this. Jesus doesn't want to be part of your life. He wants to be your life.
Right. Will you let him?
Go Broncos.
This almost sounded like a sermon.
That sounded sermon-y.
That's why I said the Go Broncos thing there at the end. That
All right.
kind of took the edge off. I think it was helpful.